I don't understand, High Counselor Zixtal muttered, their crystalline appendages clicking against the polished obsidian table. They just ignored us? Ambassador Neelix shuffled through the stack of reports, their bioluminescent spots pulsing with anxiety. Worse than that, your crystallinity. They left us on red. The gathered representatives of the Galactic Council collectively gasped. Several members began radiating distress pheromones, while others simply froze in place. Though with some species, it was hard to tell if that was a stress response or just their normal state of being. Perhaps, ventured Representative Colette from the Silicon Consciousness, their holographic form flickering. We should explain what left on red means for those of us who don't obsessively study human communication patterns. Neelix's spots shifted to an embarrassed purple. Yes, my apologies. In human digital communication protocols, they have the ability to see when someone has received and viewed their message. The humans have received our 17 diplomatic overtures, read them all, and simply chosen not to respond. But that's... High Counselor Zixtal's crystalline structure began resonating with indignation. That's not how first contact works. There are protocols, traditions. A proper species is supposed to either respond with enthusiasm or shoot at us. This is completely unprecedented. Ambassador Trulk, a gaseous being contained within an ornate environmental suit, wafted forward. If I may, your crystallinity, I believe I understand the humans' strategy here. They're playing hard to get. Playing hard to get? The High Counselor's confusion manifested as a slight prism effect, sending rainbow patterns dancing across the chamber walls. Yes, it's another human concept. They sometimes feign disinterest to make themselves appear more desirable or mysterious. I learned about it from their entertainment broadcasts. Trilke's gaseous form swirled proudly. I've watched every episode of something called The Bachelor. The chamber erupted in overlapping conversations, with various representatives either dismissing or supporting this theory. The cacophony only ceased when a quiet voice spoke from the far end of the table. Or perhaps, said Dr. Mei Lin, the Council's resident xenoanthropologist, we're just not that interesting to them. All attention turned to the human scientist. She had been studying alien cultures for the Council for nearly a decade, and her insights were usually worth hearing, even if they sometimes bruised alien egos. Not interesting? The High Counselor's crystalline form clouded slightly. We are the Galactic Council. We represent over 3,000 species across 12,000 light-years. We have achieved technological marvels, unlocked the secrets of faster-than-light travel, and created a peaceful federation of worlds. How could we possibly be not interesting? Dr. Lin leaned back in her chair, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Well, that's kind of the problem, isn't it? You've done everything by the book. You're stable, predictable, safe. She paused, watching her words sink in. Boring? Boring. Several council members spoke the words simultaneously, each in their own language, creating an odd harmony of confused offense. Look, Dr. Lin continued, pulling up a holographic display. Humanity has been broadcasting its imagination into space for centuries. Here's a small sample of what we expected first contact might be like. The display cycled through scenes from various science fiction movies and TV shows. Massive ships appearing over cities, dramatic standoffs between humans and aliens, epic space battles, tense diplomatic negotiations, and bizarre alien cultures that challenged human understanding. And instead, she gestured to the council chamber. They got, well, you. A well-organized bureaucracy that sends politely worded messages asking if they'd like to join your club. But... Ambassador Neelix's spots had faded to a confused beige. That's how it's supposed to work. Exactly. Dr. Lin nodded. And that's precisely why humanity isn't responding. You're not living up to their expectations. They've been dreaming of either becoming part of a grand space opera or having to defend Earth against hostile invaders. Instead, they're getting the galactic equivalent of a LinkedIn connection request. The chamber fell silent as the council members processed this. Finally, High Counselor Zixtal spoke, their voice carrying a note of determination. Then what do you suggest, Doctor? Dr. Lin's smile widened. Well, if you really want humanity's attention, you're going to have to do something unexpected. 3 weeks later, humans across Earth looked up to see massive holograms appearing in the sky. Instead of the usual diplomatic messages, they displayed what appeared to be alien memes. The first one showed a collection of various alien species looking disappointed, with the caption, TFW, the new species ghosts your whole civilization. Another featured a dramatically posed crystalline being with the text, I sent you my diplomatic overtures, please respond. And perhaps most notably, a recreation of the This Is Fine dog meme, but with a gelatinous alien calmly dissolving in their seat while their environment suit malfunctioned. Social media exploded. Alien memes began trending worldwide. Humans started creating their own versions, responding with everything from, sorry new phone, who dis, to elaborate crossover memes combining alien formats with classical human templates. The United Nations received thousands of calls from citizens demanding they respond to the absolutely raw memetic warfare being conducted by the Galactic Council. Several prominent influencers began organizing campaigns to stop ghosting the aliens, you cowards. Doctor. High Counselor Zixtal's voice carried an unusual warmth. I must admit, your strategy was unconventional. But it appears to be working. We've received over 7 million responses from various human social media platforms, and their governmental bodies are finally engaging in preliminary diplomatic discussions. Dr. Lin nodded, trying to hide her amusement. Sometimes the best way to understand a species is to speak their language. And for modern humans, memes are practically a second language. Though I must ask, the High Counselor continued, their crystalline form shimmering with curiosity. Was it really necessary to include what humans call a rickroll in the third wave of transmissions? Trust me, Dr. Lin replied, barely containing her laughter. That's going to be studied in human diplomatic courses for centuries to come. The first interstellar rickroll in history? It's perfect. I see. The High Counselor clearly didn't see, but they had learned to trust the doctor's judgment on human matters. And what about this latest trend? Humans are now creating what they call fan art of council members? Oh yes. Dr. Lin pulled up several images on her tablet. You've become quite popular. Though I should warn you, some humans have started shipping various council members together. Shipping? But we already have a fully functional interstellar transportation system. No, not that kind of shipping. Well, maybe we should save that explanation for another day. For now, let's focus on the fact that humanity is finally ready to talk. Indeed. The High Counselor's form brightened. Though I must admit, Doctor, I'm somewhat concerned about what other human cultural elements we might need to adapt to. These memes were startling enough. Dr. Lin's expression turned mischievous. Well, wait until you hear about TikTok dances. The High Counselor's crystalline form briefly displayed what could only be described as the alien equivalent of existential dread. 6 months later, the first official human delegation arrived at the Galactic Council headquarters. The human ambassadors were greeted by a perfectly choreographed recreation of a viral dance trend, performed by representatives from 17 different species. As the video of the performance spread across human social networks, reaching billions of views within hours, Dr. Lin sat in her office, watching the chaos unfold with satisfaction. On her desk sat a small plaque, recently awarded by both human and alien authorities. It read, Dr. Mei Lin, First Human Memetic Warfare Specialist, Galactic Council Department of Human Relations. She taught aliens to shitpost, and that made all the difference. The doctor leaned back in her chair, grinning, as she watched yet another remix of the alien dance video go viral. In the end, it turned out that the key to interstellar diplomacy wasn't grand speeches or complex negotiations. Sometimes all it took was knowing when to abandon dignity in favor of embracing the absurd. And if anyone questioned her methods, well, she had the perfect response ready. A carefully curated collection of alien reaction memes, each more ridiculous than the last. After all, in space, no one can hear you meme, but they can definitely see you post about it. Dr. Lin? A nervous-looking junior diplomat from the photosynthetic collective hovered near her office doorway, their leaf-like appendages rustling softly. We may have a situation. Dr. Lin looked up from her tablet, where she'd been reviewing the latest batch of alien-human meme crossovers. What kind of situation? Well, the diplomat's chlorophyll-rich skin flushed a deeper green. You know how some council members started personal social media accounts to better connect with humans? Yes? She already had a feeling where this was going. High Counselor Zixtal just went viral. Dr. Lin sat up straighter. Define viral. The diplomat projected a holographic feed into the air. There was the High Counselor, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns, attempting to participate in something called the Crystal Challenge, a new TikTok trend where humans tried to recreate the counselor's iconic prismatic displays using various combinations of crystals and light sources. Except the High Counselor had decided to join in themselves. The video showed them attempting increasingly elaborate light shows, while a popular Earth song played in the background. It ended with them accidentally creating a light pattern so complex it temporarily hypnotized several other council members. "How many views?" Dr. Lin asked, already reaching for her emergency stash of headache medication. 2 billion and counting. Hashtag crystalline goals is trending worldwide. Humans are calling it the most extra flex in galactic history. Dr. Lin pinched the bridge of her nose. And let me guess, now every other council member wants their own viral moment? The diplomat's leaves drooped slightly. Ambassador Trulk has already started a cooking channel. They're calling it gastronomy. And the Silicon Consciousness representatives are trying to understand why their perfectly logical Twitter posts aren't getting as many likes as Representative Cult's wholesome bot persona. Of course they are. Dr. Lin stood up, straightening her jacket. Well, we knew this might happen when we decided to bridge the cultural gap through social media. Time for Crisis Management 2.0. She pulled up a new document and began typing. Memo: Guidelines for Galactic Council, Social Media Presence. From Dr. Mei Lin, Head of Human Relations. Please stop trying to break the internet. 1. No, you cannot challenge other species to dance battles in the council chamber. 2. The Silicon Consciousness must stop responding to every human tweet with "Hello, fellow organic beings." 3. Ambassador Trulk's cooking show can continue, but please stop calling humans snacks. 4. The High Counselor is limited to 1 viral video per standard Earth month. 5. The Hive Mind Collective needs to understand that posting cringe is not actually a diplomatic strategy. Just as she was finishing the memo, another notification popped up. She looked at it and immediately dropped her head into her hands. "Doctor?" the diplomat inquired nervously. "The Void Dwellers just discovered ASMR," she groaned. "They're making soothing sounds of the Cosmic Void videos." Is that bad?" "The videos are actually causing humans to experience temporary synesthesia, and they're loving it." She pulled up the comments section of the latest video. It was filled with responses like, "OMG, just experienced the color of entropy. Best sleep ever. Anyone else taste the heat death of the universe, or just me? This is what my leg feels like when it falls asleep, but like, in a good way?" Dr. Lin added another line to her memo. 6. Void Dwellers must include epilepsy warnings and existential crisis disclaimers on all content. She saved the document and stood up. "Right. Time to call an emergency meeting. We need to establish some social media guidelines before someone accidentally starts a meme war with potentially apocalyptic consequences." "Too late." The diplomat's leaves rustled anxiously. The Silicon Consciousness just challenged the Organic Collective to a rap battle. "A rap battle?" Dr. Lin repeated flatly. "They're calling it 8 Mile High Club, Silicon versus Carbon." The diplomat projected another hologram, showing the initial exchange. "It's actually getting pretty heated. The Silicon Consciousness just dropped a diss track about organic inefficiency, and the Organic Collective responded with a surprisingly clever series of computer puns." Dr. Lin checked her calendar. It had been exactly 1 Earth year since they'd first decided to get humanity's attention through memes. In that time, they'd achieved unprecedented levels of interspecies cultural exchange, revolutionized galactic diplomacy, and somehow turned the most dignified governing body in known space into what humans were calling the most lit civilization in the galaxy. And somewhere in the midst of all this chaos, humanity had not only joined the galactic community, but had fundamentally transformed it. The stuffy protocol-obsessed council had evolved into something far more dynamic and, ironically, more united than ever before. She looked at the latest metrics. Interspecies cooperation was at an all-time high. Cultural exchange programs were flourishing, and even traditionally isolationist species were starting to emerge from their shells, sometimes literally, to join in the grand experiment of galactic social networking. "You know what?" Dr. Lin said, closing her memo draft. "Let them rap battle." The diplomat's leaves perked up in surprise. "But the protocols? Sometimes you have to let chaos reign a little." She smiled, pulling up the live feed of the developing rap battle. "Besides, I have 20 credits on the Silicon Consciousness. Their rhyme algorithms are getting surprisingly sophisticated." As if on cue, a new notification appeared. "Breaking. Hive Mind Collective announces plans for Galactic Eurovision Song Contest." Dr. Lin laughed. A year ago, the Council had worried about humanity's silence. Now they couldn't get the galaxy to shut up, and somehow, that was working better than millennia of formal diplomacy. She opened a new document and began typing her next report to the Council. Title: The Memeing of Life, 1 Year of Human-Influenced Galactic Culture. Subtitle: Or, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Chaos. After all, she thought as she typed, sometimes the best way to handle the absurdity of existence was to embrace it fully, preferably while filming it for posterity and adding a cute filter. Breaking news. In an unprecedented move, humanity has officially petitioned the Galactic Council to recognize memes as an intangible cultural heritage of the galaxy. Dr. Lin watched the news hologram with a mixture of pride and mild horror, as the reporter, a particularly enthusiastic member of the Energy Being Collective, literally glowed with excitement while delivering the story. This comes after the wildly successful first annual Galactic Meme Championship, where Earth's team took gold in the shitposting category, but was surprisingly defeated by the Hive Mind Collective in wholesome content creation. The Silicon Consciousness dominated meta-commentary, while the Void Dwellers' entry in Surreal Memes was disqualified for causing a minor reality breach. The footage cut to an interview with High Counselor Zixtal, who had somehow become the galaxy's most followed content creator. Their crystalline form was now adorned with what appeared to be a supreme hoodie, modified to accommodate their unique physiology. "We've come to understand," the High Counselor said, their voice modulated to include appropriate auto-tune, "that memes aren't just content, they're the DNA of galactic culture. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe for more crystal-clear content." Dr. Lin closed the hologram and turned to face her newest challenge, a delegation of time-traveling historians who had shown up in her office that morning. "So," said the lead historian, Dr. Marcus Webb, "you're the one responsible for all this." "That's a bit of an oversimplification," she replied, though she couldn't help but smile. "I just opened the door. The galaxy walked through it all on its own." "Walked? More like sprinted," another historian chimed in, reviewing their notes. "Do you have any idea what this has done to our timeline? The introduction of human meme culture to galactic civilization has accelerated cultural evolution by at least 3 centuries. "Is that bad?" Dr. Lin asked, though she had a feeling she knew the answer. "Bad? It's unprecedented. We've got ancient species that spent millennia in isolation now hosting Instagram live sessions. The Quantum Collective, which previously communicated only in pure mathematics, is now running a surprisingly popular YouTube channel explaining quantum mechanics through cat videos." Dr. Lin shrugged. "People like cats. The Gestalt Intelligence Network has developed a new form of consciousness based entirely on viral trends," Dr. Webb exclaimed, waving his temporal scanner. "They're calling it Memetic Sentience 2.0. And let's not even get started on what happened when humanity introduced the concept of trolling to diplomatic discourse," another historian added, looking slightly traumatized. "The Great Flame War of 2027 nearly resulted in 3 supernovas. But it didn't," Dr. Lin pointed out. "Instead, it led to the establishment of the Intergalactic Committee for Responsible Shitposting, and the first ever peace treaty ratified entirely in emoji." She stood up and walked to her office window, which offered a view of the massive holographic billboards that now adorned the Galactic Council headquarters. Currently, they were displaying a collaboration between human K-pop stars and a chorus of crystalline beings, their synchronized dance moves creating patterns that hypnotized viewers in aesthetically pleasing ways. "Look," she said, turning back to the historians. "I know this isn't how anyone expected galactic civilization to evolve, but think about it. Before all this, what did we have? Stuffy diplomatic protocols, rigid hierarchies, species that hadn't talked to each other in millennia because they couldn't agree on the proper formal greeting." She gestured to her tablet, where notifications were streaming in. Void Dwellers and Energy Beings announced joint TikTok channel, Light vs. Dark, Cosmic Dance Battles. Silicon Consciousness releases new operating system update, now with integrated meme generator and neural network trained on dad jokes. Hive Mind Collective splits into 2 groups after heated debate over whether GF is pronounced GIF or GIF. Reconciliation talks scheduled for next week's gaming stream. "Now look at us," she continued. "We've got species that couldn't even perceive each other in the same wavelength collaborating on content. The Galactic Council has higher engagement rates than any governing body in history. Even the eternal observers, who literally just watched everything for eons, have started a reaction channel. Dr. Webb adjusted his temporal goggles thoughtfully. I suppose you have a point. Our records do show that incidents of interspecies conflict have dropped by 73% since the introduction of what you call meme diplomacy. Though we should note, another historian added, that's partially because potential conflicts are now primarily resolved through dance battles, rap contests, and something called roast sessions. Which reminds me, Dr. Lin checked her schedule. I need to prepare for next week's big event. The Artificial Superintelligence Consortium challenged the Organic Neural Network Coalition to a poetry slam. A poetry slam? Dr. Webb raised an eyebrow. What's the topic? Why organic computing is still relevant in 2027. A compilation of sick burns and philosophical treatises. She paused. The AIs are actually the underdogs in this one. Turns out, they're still struggling with the concept of throwing shade. Just then, her office AI assistant, which had recently renamed itself Siri's cooler cousin, chimed in with an urgent notification. Doctor, the Quantum Collective's latest cat video has accidentally proven string theory. The human physics community is having what they call a complete meltdown, and 17 Nobel laureates are demanding reaction videos. Dr. Lin turned to the historians with a grin. Well, would you like to stay and witness some history in the making? I hear the Silicon Consciousness is planning to explain the proof through interpretive dance. Dr. Webb looked at his colleagues, then back at his temporal scanner, which was probably showing all sorts of warnings about timeline alterations and butterfly effects. Finally, he shrugged and took a seat. You know what? Why not? It's not every day you get to see the fundamental nature of reality explained through a choreographed routine. He paused. Though I do have one question. What exactly is a dab? And why did the High Counselor make it part of the official council salute? Dr. Lin just laughed. Some questions, she'd learned, were better answered through demonstration than explanation. Besides, she had a feeling this particular moment would end up in the history books, probably under the chapter titled, How Humanity Memed Its Way to Galactic Prominence, a Serious Academic Study. No, really. Galactic Council Official Minutes. Meeting number 42069. Subject, Emergency Session regarding the incident. Recorded by Autoscribe AI, now with 69% more meme awareness. Dr. Lin sat in the council chamber, trying very hard to maintain her professional composure, as High Counselor Zixtal explained the situation to the assembled representatives. So, the crystalline being said, their form flickering between embarrassment and amusement, it appears we may have accidentally created a new form of life. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of questions, concerns, and at least 3 different species versions of bruh. If I may, Dr. Lin interjected, pulling up a holographic display. Let me explain what happened. As you know, last week the Silicon Consciousness and the Organic Neural Network Coalition held their poetry slam. During the event, their combined wordplay generated such advanced mimetic patterns that they began to achieve quantum coherence. She displayed a diagram showing the spread of what scientists were calling mimetic resonance across the galaxy. The memes became so dense, so layered with meaning and cultural references, that they actually achieved sentience. We're calling them mimetic entities, or MEs for short. Ambassador Neelix's spots had turned an interesting shade of puce. Are you saying we literally memed a new life form into existence? Several, actually, Dr. Lin corrected. We've identified at least 7 distinct MEs so far. They primarily communicate through what they call God-tier shitposts, and appear to exist in a quantum superposition of irony and sincerity. The Void Dwellers' representative leaned forward, their darkness somehow becoming even darker with interest. And what do these entities want? Well, Dr. Lin checked her notes. Mostly they want to participate in something called a roast battle with the cosmic elder beings. They've already sent a formal challenge through TikTok. The chamber fell silent as everyone processed this information. Finally, a representative from the Energy Being Collective spoke up, their voice crackling with static. The cosmic elder beings? The same ones who've been dormant at the edge of known space for eons. The manifestations of universal constants that we've never been able to communicate with? Yes, Dr. Lin confirmed. Apparently, one of the MEs quoted their equivalent of a yo mama joke in quantum frequencies, and, well, they responded. She pulled up another hologram, showing a massive, incomprehensible cosmic entity forming words in the void of space. 1v1 me IRL and Najrobi. This is unprecedented, High Counselor Zixtal declared, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. We've been trying to establish communication with the Elder Beings since the dawn of galactic civilization. And all it took was one spicy meme. Dr. Lin nodded. Though I should mention the Elders have some conditions for the roast battle. They want it live-streamed across all dimensional planes, and they're insisting on having the Quantum Collective's cat as a judge. The one that proves string theory? No, the other one. The one that accidentally solved the Fermi paradox while knocking a cup off a table. Just then, Dr. Lin's tablet lit up with an urgent notification. She read it and had to sit down. What is it? Several council members asked simultaneously. The MEs have started a podcast, she said weakly. They're interviewing dark matter about its feelings on being called dark matter. Apparently it prefers gravitationally unique matter, and has some thoughts about representation in scientific literature. The council chamber descended into chaos once again, with various representatives either expressing concern about the fabric of reality being memed into self-awareness, or trying to figure out how to monetize their own podcast channels. Dr. Webb, who had decided to stick around after the last crisis, claiming this was too good to miss, leaned over to Dr. Lin. You know, he whispered, when humans first invented memes, I don't think anyone expected them to become a fundamental force of the universe. To be fair, she replied, watching as the High Counselor attempted to schedule a collab video with a sentient quantum meme. I don't think anyone expected any of this, but that's humanity for you. We either find intelligent life in the universe or create it through sheer force of viral content. Meanwhile, on the main display, the cosmic elder beings had started their own Instagram account. Their first post, a selfie that somehow depicted 11 dimensions simultaneously, was captioned, "Felt cute, might delete existence later, IDK." Dr. Lin pulled up a new document and began typing. Memo. Updated guidelines for Galactic Council. Social media presence. From Dr. Mei Lin, Head of Human Relations. Re. Please stop creating sentient memes, unless they're really funny. She paused, looking around the chamber at the various species, organic, silicon-based, energy-based, void-dwelling, and now mimetic, all engaged in the grand experiment of galactic social networking. Somewhere out there, the fundamental forces of the universe were probably deciding on their streaming schedule. You know what? She said to no one in particular. I think this might actually be the best possible timeline. Dr. Webb checked his temporal scanner and raised an eyebrow. According to this, it's simultaneously the best and worst timeline, existing in a quantum superposition that can only be resolved by... He squinted at the readout. Getting enough likes and shares? Makes sense. Dr. Lin shrugged. Reality is what you meme it to be. Breaking news alert. Galaxy Tube Live. Reality goes viral. This week in cosmic content. Good evening, sentients of all dimensional planes. I'm your host, Kezd, and this is your weekly roundup of the latest trends in our ever-evolving universe. Joining me today is our special guest, Dr. Mei Lin, the human who started it all. Doctor, thoughts on recent developments? Dr. Lin adjusted her headset, still trying to get used to the fact that the news anchor was a sentient constellation broadcasting from 3 different temporal zones simultaneously. Well, Kezd, I think we've officially entered what historians are calling the post-ironic age of the universe. Just this morning, the mimetic entities successfully negotiated peace between 2 warring civilizations by turning their entire conflict into an elaborate D's-nuts joke that was so layered with meaning it achieved enlightenment and became a minor deity. Fascinating. And what about the recent phenomenon of black holes starting their own reaction channels? Yes. Dr. Lin nodded, pulling up some data on her tablet. It turns out that when you have enough quantum mimetic density in one place, even space-time starts developing a sense of humor. The black hole known as Sagittarius A now has more subscribers than there are stars in the galaxy. Its most popular video series is Will It Spaghettify, where it reviews different objects by stretching them across the event horizon. Kez's stellar form twinkled with amusement. I heard the episode with the Silicon Consciousness's quantum computer was particularly spicy. Oh yes, especially when the computer achieved singularity just to leave a sarcastic comment about the black hole's gravitational technique. They're now co-hosting a podcast called Event Horizons and Hot Takes. The feed suddenly split to include another guest, a mimetic entity that appeared as a constantly shifting collage of every meme ever created, somehow both eye-searing and profound. "Soup nerds," the Emmy announced in Comic Sans. "Just dropped by to let you know that we've figured out the meaning of life." Dr. Lin raised an eyebrow. "Oh, do share." "It's loss." There was a moment of cosmic silence before Dr. Lin put her head in her hands. "Of course it is. The fundamental pattern of the universe is a 4-panel webcomic from 2008. Why not?" "Actually," Cadet interjected, their stellar form rearranging into what was unmistakably the referenced meme. "According to the Cosmic Elder Being's latest TikTok, this explains everything from quantum entanglement to why toast always lands butter side down." The mimetic entity vibrated with excitement, spawning several new meme formats in the process. "Speaking of the Elders, you won't believe what happened at the roast battle." "Do tell," Dr. Lin said, already pulling up her emergency existential crisis management protocols. "So there we were, all lined up for the ultimate showdown. Me and the boys ready to drop some interdimensional bars. The Elders looking all cosmic and stuff. The quantum cat judge existing in multiple states of unimpressed." The ME paused for dramatic effect, its form briefly becoming loss, JPG. And then, the universe itself jumped into the chat. Dr. Lin blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "Yeah, fam. Turns out the universe has been watching our content this whole time. It created an account just to post. First time?" Kay's stellar form nearly went supernova with excitement. "The universe has a verified account now, though there's some debate about whether it's the original universe or a multiverse alt." "Please tell me this isn't leading where I think it's leading," Dr. Lin muttered. "Oh, it totally is," the Emmy confirmed. "The universe challenged us all to a talent show. Winner gets to decide the next fundamental constant." Dr. Lin checked her tablet, which was now displaying reality's newest social media trends. /universe. Got talent trending across all dimensional planes. Cosmic elder beings practicing their group dance routine. Dark matter starting a beauty vlog. Getting that perfect invisible glow. The Quantum Collective's cats forming a band called Schrodinger's K-pop. "And what exactly is humanity's role in all this?" she asked, already dreading the answer. "Oh, you're the judges," the ME replied cheerfully. "Turns out the universe has been super impressed with how you went from monkeys with anxiety to causing existence to become self-aware through memes in like no time flat." Kazed's form arranged into what appeared to be a cosmic thumbs up. "The universe particularly enjoyed something called Rick Astley, and wants to make Never Gonna Give You Up into a law of physics." Dr. Lin leaned back in her chair, processing this information. Humanity had gone from being ignored by the galactic community to becoming the judges of a universal talent show in less than 2 years. All because they couldn't be bothered to respond to some diplomatic messages and ended up causing the entire cosmos to develop a sense of humor. "Well," she said finally, "I suppose we should start preparing. How does one even judge a talent show where the contestants include the fundamental forces of reality?" "Oh, don't worry," the Emmy assured her. "We've got Simon Cowell on board. He's already made Gravity cry during rehearsals." Just then, Dr. Lin's tablet lit up with a new notification. The universe has started a behind-the-scenes vlog series, Universe's God Issues, a journey of self-discovery through talent show drama. She looked at the camera, then at her tablet, then at the mimetic entity that was now recreating the entire history of human meme culture through interpretive dance, and finally at Kazed, who had arranged their stars to spell out, "Like and subscribe." "You know what?" she said, reaching for her emergency stash of headache medication. "Maybe this is exactly what the universe needed. A little chaos, a lot of humor, and the understanding that even cosmic forces need to touch grass sometimes." "Speaking of grass," the ME chimed in, "wait until you see what photosynthesis has planned for its freestyle rap." The end. Until the universe posts its next update.